this is the bit where you have a chance to get involved. Get your phone, get your laptop, your whatever it is that you can get on the internet, and you can go to skysports.com/play, and this is your chance to vote on who you think will win the title. So your choice is Liverpool, Manchester City or other. So if you don't think it's going to be either of those two, your option is other. And get voting now. As you can see, the votes coming in thick and fast already. And look at that, changing hands quite a bit at the moment. Other, 49%. There's a lot of optimistic football fans out there this morning. We are nearly there. The Premier League is nearly with us. Right. So let's start this debate between Tom and Danny. It's Liverpool's title to defend. They start against Leeds Saturday night. Danny, first of all, they've got the burden off their backs of getting their first Premier League title, but actually, how hard will they find it to defend that one? Not many teams have been able to do it.
No, it is. Obviously, it's difficult, and Liverpool were by far and away the best team in the Premier League last season. They were absolutely magnificent, and I think obviously looking to try and defend it. You look at players in the team that won't settle for second best. You know, they won't want to wrestle their laurels, the likes of Henderson, the likes of Milner, the likes of Van Dijk. So they've got really strong characters within the dressing room there that, you know, will make sure that they're still driven and you know, aiming to try and defend the title. So I don't think that will be a concern from them. And obviously Jurgen Klopp as well. We can see how animated he is on the touchline, and he'll be saying to his team, yes, we've won the Premier League, but now, you know, we've got there. That's probably going to be easier than what it is going to be to actually defend it. So it's going to make for another intriguing season.
Yeah, Liverpool fans, where are you this morning? skysports.com/play. Not many of you are optimistic at the moment. Only 22% think you can retain that title. Tom, you know what it's like to play in the Premier League. You know what it's like to play against champions. Do you have that extra incentive when you're going up against the defending champions? Is that a scout you want to take there?
Yeah, 100%, especially a club the size of Liverpool in general. But with them being the champions, a lot of eyes will be on them, as it should be. So, yeah, I think week to week, they're going to come against teams that are probably raising their game 5 or 10%. And I think we saw that towards the back end of last season. I know they hadn't been crowned champions then, but when they went to Vicarage Road and Watford managed to turn them over 3-0, where everybody thinking it was going to be sort of another invincible season for a Premier League team. But Watford shown on the day, even though they were in a bad predicament themselves, that they could raise their game probably 15-20% and turn over the champions-elect 3-0. So it's going to be tough for them to retain the title, but with the squad they've got, I'm sure they're full of confidence going into the new season.
Yeah, and I wonder how many of those other fans are fans full of confidence, maybe Leeds fans, who knows, West Brom, Fulham fans are dreaming at the start of the season, but 53% of you say it will not be Manchester City or Liverpool who win the title. It will be another team at this stage. Danny, barring any big surprises, the transfer window ending on October the 5th, it doesn't look like Liverpool will massively change their squad. Kostas Tsimikas has arrived. How much does that surprise you? Because it seems to be in football, the thinking is if you're not going forward, in some ways you're going backwards.
Yeah, at times that's what they say. You know, you've got to sign players just to stand still. I think from Liverpool's perspective, you know, last season, yes, they did have injuries. You know, in particular, obviously to the goalkeeper, to Alisson, but they had 7 players that played 30 plus games, that started 30 plus games in the Premier League. Manchester City only had 3, so there is an element when you look at that front three of Liverpool, you know, it speaks for itself, the amount of goals that they score, the amount of assists that they have between them. But when you take one of them out, you know, the team can really suffer. I think we know Van Dijk, in my opinion, is the best centre-back in world football at the moment. Gomez, I think him and Van Dijk will create and have created already an unbelievable partnership as in terms of the centre-back pairing. But I feel as though Manchester City, in my opinion, I put them as favourites just because of the strength of depth that they've got, you know, within their squad. Liverpool are reliant on a certain amount of players, and they were incredible last season. And I think if they don't add to their squad, they've got to hope that they have similar fortune next season, or this season coming up, should I say, as in terms of injuries. Because if they do get, hopefully they don't, but if there is any major injuries to the key players, I know obviously I've mentioned about Alisson, but other than that, they were quite fortunate. That's when it becomes a little bit of a problem. And the squad depth, where Manchester City, I think they'll probably look to still add a centre-back, but I think their squad depth could just really give them a little bit of a bonus this season.
Yeah, Tom, they've already added one centre-back, haven't they? And Nathan Ake. Fran Torres has already arrived as well. How much do you think that's enough business, or do they need more?
I think the Ake signing is a brilliant signing because of, obviously, since Company left and with his injuries, they've been crying out for another centre-half. I was surprised he's got another left-footed centre-back, though, to be honest. So I think, as Danny mentioned, I think they'll probably still be in the market for a right-sided centre-back, which equally will maybe give them the option to go three at the back in some of the games. I wouldn't be surprised if they look for a number 9. Obviously, Aguero's had quite a few little injuries throughout his time at Manchester City. And as Danny mentioned equally earlier, we've seen last season in some of the bigger games, Jesus can comfortably play on the left-hand side. So I wouldn't be surprised, as I say, if they look in the market for a right-sided centre-back and possibly a backup striker as well.
Yeah, I think it's a big season for Manchester City as well, because I think when you look at the age of their squad, I think, the main players, I think they've got 7 players that are probably 29 years or older. So it's going to be a huge season for them. And I think the centre-back position's key. We saw how many goals he scored last season. They did have the second best defence to Liverpool, but I think that is the difference. And like Tom's quite rightly said, they've brought in Ake, who I think will be an outstanding signing for them. He gives them the versatility if they do want to play a 3 at the back. There's a lot of talk about Koulibaly coming to the club as well. And, my own honest opinion is that if they do sign Koulibaly or a centre-back of that standard, I think they win the Premier League. It's as simple as that. I think the effect that a top-class centre-back would have on Manchester City's team would be, look at the impact that Van Dijk had at Liverpool. We know that Manchester City, the way that they play going forward, the options that they have, the versatility they have is in terms of different players being able to play in different positions. They're very rarely going to struggle to score, but it's just defensively needing to sharpen up. And if they can get that key centre-back, then I think, Manchester City will win the league.
SkySports.com/play. Only less than 1 in 5 agree with you. 1 in 5 agree with you there, Danny, that City, maybe that's because Koulibaly isn't in yet, will win the title. 29% Liverpool. Last chance to get your votes in. We're going to close this poll very, very soon, but 51%, Tom, think it will be another team. So if not Liverpool or City, then who? Chelsea, Manchester United, both in the transfer market already this pre-season. Who will take it if not those two?
To be fair, I can't see it being any team other than them two, but I think the nearest challengers, I'd have to say Chelsea. I think they've signed excellently. Obviously, Frank has seen a few weaknesses. He wasn't overly convinced with last season, and he's done his business early in the transfer market. He chopped and changed at left back, and he's spent 50 million on Ben Chilwell to come in and sort of cement himself in the team for probably the next 8 to 10 years. Equally with Giroud and Tammy Abraham up top, he chopped and changed with them a little bit, but he spent big on Werner, who I'm sure he looks very suited to the Premier League. So I think if Chelsea new signings can hit the ground running, they'll have as good a chance as any of the sort of chasing pack to catch the top 2, I reckon.
We shall see. So that has been your vote today on skysports.com/play. Who will win the Premier League? We're going to close that poll right now. Thanks for getting involved. And the final result is more than half of you think it will be neither Liverpool or Manchester City, but another team who will be winning the Premier League at the end of this upcoming season. We shall see.